Hello, my name is Sonia, and this is video number 1 in my series called The Basics of Crochet. The first thing we're going to be talking about is tools, and if you want to learn how to crochet, that's fantastic, but you're going to need some basic tools to get started. And the nice thing about crocheting is it's rather inexpensive to get started. You can probably find everything you need for under $10. And that's great, especially if you're not sure if you're going to like it, so you haven't invested a lot or wasted a lot of money. So the first thing you would need to get started is a crochet hook, which looks something like this. And crochet hooks come in different sizes, so I recommend one of these 3 sizes to get started. One of the sizes is size G, also number 6, or a 4mm hook or 4.25mm. Some G hooks I've seen are 4mm, some are 4.25mm. It really doesn't matter. So this is a good size to get started with. The next size I recommend is size H. Also a number 8 or a 5mm hook. So again, if you see this size in a store, snatch it up, or you can maybe find them in consignment shops, thrift shops, just for a couple cents. And then the third size I recommend is size I. Could be number 9 or 5.5mm hooks. So again, you don't have to buy all 3 of these sizes, especially if you're not sure. Just pick up one of these, and the reason is your stitches won't be too big, they won't be too little. It's pretty easy for beginners to see what you're doing. So that's the first thing that you would need to get started. The next thing you would need would be yarn. And here's yarn right here, and I recommend a yarn that is a light color. And the reason being is so you can see your stitches easily, and also a solid color. You don't want a yarn that has a lot of different colors in it, because it can be difficult to see your stitches, especially when you're getting started, and that would be very frustrating. And another thing with yarn is I recommend a worsted weight. Yarn can come in different sizes, so you want to make sure you don't have yarn that's too thin or too thick. A worsted weight yarn also would be number 4. A lot of times on the label is a great yarn to start off with. So that would be what I recommend, and it also pairs really well with the G, H, or I hooks. So that is yarn. Then the third thing you would need is a yarn needle, which looks like this. It looks like, a regular sewing needle, except it's a little bit bigger. And the reason you would need a yarn needle is some projects require sewing, like if you're making granny squares and you need to attach them, you would need to sew them. And the reason why you would need a larger sewing needle like this is so you can thread the yarn easily through it. If I can get it in there. Just like that. And also, when you're starting a project, you're going to have a tail like this, and when you're ending a project, you're also going to have a tail similar to this. So you would use your yarn needle to help get rid of those tails. You would thread the little tail through, and then you would help weave in that tail to hide it, because you don't want to have your tail showing in your project. So that is the third thing you would need. Oh, and again, some of these come in, they can be made in plastic or metal. I prefer the metal ones because they're sturdier, but it really doesn't matter, they might even come in wood, I'm not sure. But you can find these in craft stores, Walmart, they're pretty easy to find. So, and it also can be called a tapestry needle. They're not always called a yarn needle. So if you would see it on the package and it said tapestry needle, it's the same thing. So just so you know. And then the fourth thing you would need is scissors, which you probably wouldn't even need to buy. I'm sure you have some scissors laying around in your house somewhere. You could also use any kind of cutting tool, like nail clippers, pocket knife, just something to cut your yarn. You'll need to cut it when you're done your project. So just to recap, the 4 things you would need to get started is a crochet hook in either size G, H, or I, or 4mm, 4.25mm, size 6, 5mm or size 8, or 5.5mm size 9. If you see any of those things on the package, or a lot of times, like you can see it's right on the hook, then you're good to go. And again, you don't have to buy all 3 of these sizes, you could just get one. And the second thing you would need is yarn, which is, and you would want it in a light color, in a worsted weight size or number 4 on the package. Or you could just kind of eyeball it, like you can see how it would look on my fingers or against the hook. It pairs really well with those sizes, and again, your stitches aren't going to be too tight or too little, just right for starting out and seeing what you're doing. And then you'll need a yarn needle or a tapestry needle, and again, these can be found in plastic or metal. And you know, any craft store should have one, or you know, Walmart. Maybe Kmart, I'm not sure, but you know, or you can find it online. They're pretty easy to find. And then you'll need a pair of scissors or some kind of cutting tool. So those are the 4 things you would need to get started. My next 2 videos are going to talk a little bit more about hooks and yarn, so if you want to learn a little bit more about them, then please watch the next 2. And thank you so much for watching.